Episode 1 of the GainzCast. Now, I'm here alongside
Matt Marano.
So Matt Marano, we've known each other for years and years and years, and I've always wanted to have a podcast. And the thing about a podcast is kind of weird unless you're Ben Shapiro and you can just sit there and talk to yourself. And I've always found it when I see people doing like videos like I used to do on YouTube, is that you just see people kind of yelling at you. And that's what I did for years. And now it's going to be conversational. We're getting a lot of things done. This isn't just about physical gains. And as you're going to see, it's about a lot of gains, mental gains, spiritual gains, family gains, business gains, and of course, current event gains.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you said before, those solo podcasts, they can be kind of preachy. You know, so here you're going to get 2 points of view. We do tend to agree on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we disagree, we're not going to be scared to admit it here.
No, not at all. So today we have a great podcast for you. I'm really excited about it. There will be guests, but a lot of times there's so many current events, we can't just sit here and wait for guests. I mean, there's so much going on. And I wanted to go over some things. Some things we're going to go over. We're going to go over the Philly riots and the shooting that occurred yesterday. Very fresh. This Walter Wallace Jr. was shot. 30 cops were injured after that. Have a new Supreme Court Justice, Coney Barrett. We'll go over our thoughts on that. And of course, we're going to go over some fitness stuff. And as you guys know, I dropped out of my show. Should we start with that?
Let's go right into that, man. What happened?
That's what she said. So I was, and Matt, we just drove to Ohio yesterday. And like, I was doing pretty fucking good. Like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. And I was perfect before. I thought I was. And, or I was convincing myself I was, but I noticed like I was eating more food than I am now, believe it or not. But I wasn't like, my energy wasn't right. Like I was tired during the day, which doesn't happen to me. You know, I was finding myself needing to take naps and shit, you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I think it's just, you know what? It's just that time of the year. It's not as bright out all the time. And Thursday, my daughter's team won the district title, which is huge. She's a freshman on the varsity team. And I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm happy. And she wasn't as happy because she's busy critiquing her own play. And because she's very hard on herself.
She's a competitor.
She's a beast. This is a girl who deadlifts 350 pounds. We had a couple of football players come over who I'm helping. I help a lot of people, as many people as I can locally. And she literally, just on a light day, deadlifted 325 for 3 sets. So I'm like, that's not a light day for anybody in their mind. But Cammie, as you can tell, anybody who gets to that level at 14 years old is absolutely out of their friggin' mind. So she wasn't happy. And I lost my shit. I was like, how are you not happy? So I got mad at Cammie for not being happy. And that's when I realized this is not me. This is not normal. I found myself getting short on temper. And literally that night, I realized it. And I told Katie, I said, I'm out. And Katie's like, yeah, you've been quite the dick. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I have. So, you know, I think that having that self-awareness, and my immediate reaction was, I'm not going to keep playing like I'm competing. So I'm like, you know what? You get the kids ready for bed. I'm going to film a video, which is the first reaction of everybody. I mean, that's the social media life we live in now.
That's just the day and age.
So I did that I quit video. And I got to tell you what, man.
The support was good.
Oh my God. I had two total people out of thousands of comments, hundreds of messages. I had 2 people say, well, you should just probably like take a week and just reflect on it. Everybody else is like, yep, good move. You did the right thing. And I realized that competing is kind of stupid. In fact, it's extremely stupid. It's beyond stupid.
I mean, we look at it. You said you were eating more than normal.
I was eating more than normal.
You're getting more rest, and it's just the mental stress of knowing you're going to be on stage and just added on to everything you have going on in life and business. It just, mentally, it was too taxing.
You've completely fucked my world. I blame it on you. Because Mondays when you came aboard and you work. Like Matt's that kind of motherfucker. Who, you know, like you ever have an employee, and you've managed many people at gyms, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like they have nothing to do and they just go, what do I do? Or even better, they just don't do anything. Matt will create work. Now, when Matt creates work, that creates work for Jason, creates work for me, creates work for Tyler, creates work for Chad. So everybody's like, man, this new Jew over here is just tugging the boat, man. He's just pulling us along. So I'm not saying it's Matt's fault. I'm saying that he just, and it's a blessing because we have, again, this podcast. Like, he started last week. We got all this equipment. Now we're ready to rock. So it's a blessing. But what it shows you and what Matt was getting at, I think, is that it's not necessarily the nutrient intake. A lot of people think, like, I was eating near 4,000, 5,000 calories.
You weren't going through those poverty macros.
No, I was going through some Mitt Romney macros, bro.
You were force feeding.
I was going through some Trump macros. I was at the point of gluttony. And you know what? It was one of those things where I caught it the first day I noticed it, and it was probably going on for some time before that. So I'm really happy I caught it. I learned a lot. I learned that I will never, ever compete again. Hats off to people who compete, but honestly, not really. And I'm going to say this, and I coach people, marclobliner.com. That's my personal coaching site. Locally and regionally, I've seen more people destroy their lives for no effing reason just to get on stage and get judged by 7 or 8 people who are just not people you want judging you. It's such a narcissistic, such a selfish sport. And I love it to death, to the point where I'm pissed off I can't do it anymore. Because how else, as a lifter, do you display what you've done in the gym other than posting a selfie on Instagram? But honestly, why not just post a selfie?
The selfie would get more views. More people would see the selfie. You would get more. I mean, competing's all instant gratification. Because leading up to it, it sucks.
It's
I've
like
stepped
a
on
foot
stage
job.
once and it was awful.
Do you know foot jobs are a thing? That Hunter Biden, dude, like, I've never, ever, ever received a foot job. I like feet. Like, I'm good with feet. I don't like feet. Like, I'm not into feet.
It's never been my thing.
I'm not, if one night Katie was like, hey, why don't we try this foot job thing? I honestly don't think she has the flexibility to make it happen. And also, like, what I see as a foot job is, I think it's lazy. Because it's more distance. I feel
like it would take more effort.
It's more effort, but I think it's more like, if you want to kill an insect, you don't squash it with your hand, you squash it with your feet. Yeah. So it's kind of like killing a bug. Like, I don't want to touch this penis, so I'm going to just kick it up and down with my arches. And that's weird. And to take pictures of it and put it on a laptop and just leave a laptop at a place, like, dude, Hunter Biden is like corn pop, man. He's a bad dude. I feel bad for Joe. I really do. And here's why. Like, I hate Joe. I don't like Joe Biden at all, mainly because he's a racist and he's a politician and he just says what he can to win, right? But I actually do think he's a good dad, and that's what scares me, is that I think he got manipulated by his own son to do this Burisma stuff and this Ukraine stuff. And I think now he's suffering the consequences of just raising a really terrible person. Hunter is not a good person. I don't think anybody's going to argue that.
I have no evidence where I can back him from an ethical standpoint.
Although he did enlighten me to foot jobs.
So he's got one thing going for him.
One thing, foot jobs. Like, that's a new thing. I haven't seen foot job trend on Twitter ever. And now foot jobs are a thing. You type in foot job on the search and you get like, wow, it's a thing. So I appreciate him bringing foot jobs to the forefront of American culture. I'm good with that.
Do we want those at the forefront of American culture?
Forefront, foreskin, whatever. Speaking of foreskin, our people don't like that stuff.
I was circumcised twice.
Twice. So what I did is I actually put mine and made my foreskin into a lampshade. So every time winter hits, it gets cold outside, it gets smaller. It just contracts.
So I've got that whole situation where, like, my mom's Jewish, but my dad is not.
So you had a naming ceremony. You didn't get circumcised twice.
No, I did.
How? You only have one foreskin.
No, because my grandfather was super Jewish.
How do you get circumcised twice, though? Okay. You don't have two foreskins.
Right. So they left it on when I was at the hospital. Then they had the bris where the rabbi actually took a little bit off the top, but he left some so a doctor could do it properly. Because my dad was like, hold on, this isn't sanitary.
What kind of sick Jewish cult are you a part of?
We're like the least amount Jewish.
You New York Jews are just another level of weird. Like, weird. My kids were certain. Now, looking back, I don't know if like I've changed. Like I don't know if I'd circumcise my boys now. I don't know. I've read more about it. I'm not pro or anti circumcision. I'm quite fond of the look of. I think my penis looks great. But like I understand. But I've also known. I had a guy I worked with in the UK. He wasn't they don't circumcise as much over there, right? And he got a bad infection going into the ocean under his foreskin. Yeah. And this isn't a dirty dude. He's not like Corn Pop. You know, this is a guy who cleans it. I'm assuming I never cleaned it for him, that he cleans his penis well. And he got an infection. So then I'm like, well, I wouldn't, like, I've had jock itch before, but it was right there. It was superficial. Like, imagine if you had like this superficial skin that's holding an infection in. That just sounds dirty.
That sounds like an STD.
But nah, this guy wasn't the kind of guy to get a bunch of ass, you know?
No, I wasn't saying he was. I'm just saying that it sounds more like an STD.
STD's funner to get than going in the ocean.
Yeah, he did it the wrong way.
Speaking of which, the ocean's a killer, man. The ocean is an absolute killer. We had a friend of mine. He's actually one of our partners in one of our book partnerships, ML2training.com. And he had a good friend go to Florida. He got a cut on his leg, didn't think anything of it, went in the ocean, died a week later of some bacterial infection, man. People die of stuff.
You go back and you look at, I mean, that's what happened to Bob Marley. He was on the beach, got cut by glass, but I mean, his religion, he wouldn't allow them to use the antibiotics. Like, they could have saved him, but it was a religious thing.
This guy died. I mean, he got sepsis and whatever, but it was sad. And I remember my partner was completely devastated by it. And it woke me up. That was one of those defining moments where I realized how fragile life is. Here's a guy going to the ocean with his family, and he dies for no reason. This is pre-COVID. Now he would have got a cut on his leg, gone in the ocean, and died of COVID because they've taken over. You know, we cured the flu. We have cured the fucking flu.
And we've gotten rid of a lot of heart disease.
We've gotten rid of heart disease, right? The flu, cancer, it's all gone. Oh, man. But we could talk about COVID all day, but we will not get to the topics we want to get to. In fact, our next guest we're going to have on this week is going to be fantastic because she is not only an IFBB pro herself, a mother of 4, but the wife of Mr. Olympia Brandon Curry.
Defending Mr. Olympia Brandon Curry.
He's going to be winning that Olympia. I've seen pictures. He ain't posted on the gram, man.
Same.
I've seen the full nudes.
You haven't shown me those yet.
Well, I'm keeping them myself.
That's fair.
Some things I need to keep in my own personal spank bank, all right?
That's cool, bro.
Now, Brandon's not that. I don't think Brandon would swing that way.
No.
Nah, dude. I mean, now me, if you give me the right money, I'm doing some gay for pay. I'm doing a ton of gay for pay. But enough about gay for pay. Let's move on to something much more important, and let's actually get into something, and we wanted to start this off. We're lighthearted people, and if we joke about things that shouldn't be joked about, I want to apologize in advance, but I also want to make light of things because sometimes the world can be a shitty place. So if you hear us say something that's the least bit insensitive,
call us out. We'll just also accept this apology and realize
we're just talking. We're just talking like we would, and y'all know you say things that aren't politically correct when you're with your bros, and then y'all pretend to be virtuous. We're actually virtuous people. We really care about these topics. But the one thing I noticed, and Matt and I were working, we left Sunday, came back Monday. We didn't look at the internet. I didn't check my Twitter. And first thing I do, it pops up, and that guy, Ian Zhang, he's Malaysian. I forgot his name, but he's a Trump guy, right? Right-wing guy.
Okay.
And he's like, Philadelphia's on fire, and it's on fire. And I'm like, whoa, Philadelphia's on fire. And if there's any place that is already bad without fire, it's Philadelphia. That place is a shithole. They threw snowballs at Santa. They booed Santa. Those are evil people. But anyway.
That's a dick move.
Yeah. But Randall Cunningham. That's it. That's all they need. That's the greatest. Well, it was my favorite quarterback growing up, Randall Cunningham. Loved him. Anyway, enough about Randall Cunningham. So there was a shooting and I watched the video this morning, or last night. It was at midnight we got back. I was eating my snack. And so this gentleman I don't know what led to this. We don't see the prequel, but all I saw was a dude walking towards cops, visibly carrying a knife. and then 2 cops backing up and saying, don't come closer, don't come closer. And then 14. Pa, 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 pa. So, riots. And, this is a weird topic to talk about as white people. It just is.
It is.
Because you always get that you don't understand. But I think we kind of have different perspective. I personally grew up in the inner city, and I witnessed a lot of these things. And I grew up in a neighborhood worse than this neighborhood, Philadelphia.
And I know and am close to a lot of people in the law enforcement
community. Same. I mean, we back the blue here. We do. I mean, we do. But we also call them out when they do things like arrest moms during lockdowns for taking their kids to the park. We call them out for George Floyd. I don't care if the guy had fentanyl coming out of his goddamn eyeballs. You don't keep your knee on that guy's neck for 9.5 minutes. No. And that's why I disagree with people like Candace Owens, who I think is brilliant. I like Candace. And I disagree with everybody who's so far right. They had to I don't care if, honestly, here's the thing. I don't care if George Floyd is accused of child molestation. I don't care if he's accused of murder. You get it. You're innocent till proven guilty. And then the court and the system takes care of it. I don't care what he did. You can't kill a man. Period. The end. You're not going to get me on the anti-George Floyd side. That was disgusting. Now this
is different.
Okay. So I had a guy on Twitter and Instagram. I actually blocked him, but he actually used to be an MTS affiliate. And he's been getting really mad at my perspective on things because I'm not. And I'm not going to say his name because I really don't care if you follow him. But he called me out on an Instagram story like, oh, you got to know who you're buying from. Like, this guy thinks that a knife can't be stopped by a taser. It can. A knife can also be stopped by Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, or Steven Seagal. But at the end of the day, man, this gentleman, again, one thing I know, that if my kid, who's white, ran at a cop with a knife and he didn't get shot, it was his lucky day. I know growing up, if I, even now as a millionaire businessman, ran with a knife at a cop, I would get shot. So at the end of the day, a knife is a deadly weapon. A taser has a 60% effective rate. It doesn't go through clothes, and it's hard to aim. They're not easy to aim. And so I don't think it's possible to taser. If somebody comes at me with a knife and I'm a cop, I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're Barney. I'm shooting you.
Tasers are hard to aim. The range it's nowhere near what it is with a gun, obviously. But you look at how quickly someone coming at you with a gun can cover 10 feet, 15 feet. Mm-hmm. If they just decide to book into a sprint, I mean, you're talking a matter of seconds of reaction time, right? Seconds of reaction time. So you got to give the police officers some leeway where if they feel threatened, they need to protect themselves.
So I've never been a cop, and that's one of the things this guy said. Mark has never been a police officer. He's right, but I have done combative arms training. Katie's entire family are cops. Katie's family are cops. Her dad was a reserve cop. Her dad served in the Navy. Her brother is a police officer right now. My good friend Ron Parmeter in Plattsburgh, New York is a cop. We give weekly, if not monthly, to the Franklin and the Brentwood PD. We give them bars. We keep them hooked up. I love cops. Okay. I love them because they keep me from getting fucking robbed. It's a selfish love. But when I was a kid, you know what? I hated cops, Matt. I hated them. You want to know why? Because they prevented me from doing crime. And at the time, I was a bad kid.
To be fair,
I did
crime is
bad
fun.
things. Crime is great. I'm glad my kids don't have to, but I got in with the wrong crowd or the right crowd. They kept me safe. People don't understand what it's like to grow up in the inner city, but the one thing we knew, whether you were a hardest gangster, whether you were the OG, almost corn pop status, if you were that awesome, the cops pull up, you're the valedictorian of the high school. Yes, sir. No, sir. I've been sat on the curb. I've been given the treatment, and honestly, I deserved it because I was a piece of shit. And a lot of those conversations I had with those police officers actually, I believe, steered me in the direction I'm in now. They sat there and took the time to explain to us that we're going nowhere in life. My friends didn't make the same choices. So, and my friends at the time, they were Latino. Okay. Do you like that accent? Latino. They were Latino. Okay. I hung out with mostly Latinos. That's the neighborhood I was in. And a lot of those guys didn't make it out of the hood. And it's not because they're Latino. A lot of my friends were what they call gringos. They were, or güeros. I believe it was güeros, where they were Mexican, but they could pass as a white guy. Güero. I believe that was the term. And if that's a racist, derogatory term, I apologize. We're
speaking in context and what they called other people. We're not.
Yeah, they cut
DJ
güero. We got that all the time. So I'm not meaning that as a slur. I obviously grew up around Latino people. This isn't even like a lot of my current friends are of the Latin persuasion. And as you'll know as we go on, I don't really give a shit about race. But they made the wrong choices, Matt. They made the wrong choices. And that's why some of them aren't with us anymore. That's why some of them are in jail, and that's why some of them are still in the gang.
I hate the argument that people make where they say not everyone gets to choose the hand they're dealt or the hand they play.
We share a lot in common as far as, look, man, I'll trade my upbringing with nobody, but I'll put it up against anybody because it was screwed up. I had a mom who was addicted to drugs. I had a dad who, was unhealthy and died at an early age. I went through, I spent most of my time raising myself because my mom was in a mental institution or in rehab. And I didn't have privilege. Now, I don't know about systemic racism. I'm not claiming to know everything, but I do know this. I had to overcome obstacles. And whether being white helped me overcome that because people looked at me differently, I don't know. I've been pulled over before because I fit a description. Just 3 years ago, I was pulled over on the way to Ohio because I fit a description. Someone running drugs. The cop came up. He had his hand on his holster. He apologized later because I was respectful and I wasn't carrying. I have a concealed carry. I wasn't carrying, but he was respectful and he apologized. He said, we're all on edge because it was the Ferguson time. I think it was 3 or 4 years. It was like 2016, 2015. Okay. So at the end of the day, yes, there definitely could be systemic racism. But there's one thing I know for sure. If you run at a cop with a knife or a gun,
you're going to get shot.
You're going to get shot. Now, another question that came up is, they need to shoot him 14 times? Why didn't they shoot him in the leg? Okay, I might not be in law enforcement, but I have had extensive firearm training, including combat arms training, which is where basically you're taught to be in those situations. You can't shoot a guy in the leg who's moving. You would hit everybody but the guy you're trying to shoot. You don't even want to shoot there. You want to shoot head or heart, but it's hard to hit those. It's hard to hit the head. If you can't hit the head, you really think you can hit a calf or a fucking kneecap? Bro, this ain't the Wild Wild West, okay? So the shooting the leg thing, Joe Biden should have been taken off the goddamn ballot right when that dumb ass said that. Dumb issue. We'll fucking shoot him in the leg. Well, shut up, you geriatric motherfucker. You dumbass. That's stupid. That tells people that's a normal thought.
If someone's running at you, their legs are their most mobile. The most mobile parts of their body. That's going to be the hardest thing to hit.
You have a femoral artery there. You're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. In perspective, the reason we shoot for center mass is because you can hit it.
Because it's center mass.
Because it's the fucking center mass. Either that or the ass. Like, that's your two choices. If they're running away, you probably shouldn't shoot. Okay? But if they're running towards you, you're not going to spin around and shoot them in the ass. You're not going to shoot the gun out of their hand. That is just some bullshit that everybody who just watches movies and doesn't know how to handle a gun. I want you to find me one person who's handled a gun at a beginner and intermediate level, tell you that you can shoot a guy in the fucking leg. Guarantee you these guys can't even hit the goddamn target in 10 feet at the range.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You need training.
So my opinion is, the riots, what we're having here, look, I've been mad before. I was mad Thursday. I was in prep. None of these motherfuckers in that riot were prepping. There's no excuse. I don't know where their carbs were at, but there's no fucking reason for that.
They need an outright bar.
They need 10 outright bars. You know what we should? You guys ever try these? He's never tried these.
I've never tried these.
So we carry these at Tiger Fitness, man. It's like, it's a high protein controlled carb, controlled fat. I'm hypoglycemic. Okay, I need to cure this with snack puffs. Want one?
Yeah, let's see what flavor.
This is the wild berry cheesecake. It's not strawberry, it's wild berry.
Berry cheesecake.
Wild motherfucking berries right here.
I'm a fan of cheesecake, man.
Bro. Oh, man, that's good.
I was about to say it right here. Pour milk over and eat like cereal. That's what I want to do.
Full disclosure. This is owned by my partners in this company, Ambrosia. And the coffee we're drinking had Ritual AM in it. Mm-hmm. And these are good. That is good. So they need an outright bar. They need some fucking snack puffs. They need something. Here's the bottom line. Rioting does nothing but destroy your own neighborhood. And there's no point to it. You're not going to change anything except you're going to lose votes for the people that demographically that neighborhood is probably voting for, because people don't like that. And the fact that Biden and Kamala never denounced Antifa and said it was just an idea and not a real thing, even after watching neighborhoods be burned down, not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
It was Seattle or Portland at the beginning.
So it was Seattle and Portland.
Yeah, that had the whole Antifa thing. How can you deny it after?
You can deny it because you're a disingenuous piece of shit who's pandering to that party. And by the way, I just sprayed some snack puffs on there. My bad. We got these microphone condoms. We're going to have to change these a lot. I took my...
Never use a condom.
We're not going to delve into masks today because I think Brandy will like to go into that
for
because she has
tomorrow,
kids. But I was telling... So we went and got Qdoba on Sunday night. Qdoba's fucking good, man.
That was my first time having Qdoba, and I was shocked. I'm normally a Chipotle guy.
And honestly, the cute blonde girl, it was the one in Louisville, right across from the Vitamin Shop. And the cute little blonde girl was one of the nicest people in the world. She was so nice.
She didn't give me nearly as much protein as she gave you, and I was a little upset about
What I'm really upset about is with the mask, I couldn't tell how hot she was.
Okay, so
how do you fucking date? Like, you're dating now. How does that work?
Hold on. At the same Qdoba, there was this one girl. I was checking her out. Her eyes, amazing, but she was wearing a mask, right? She goes to sit down and eat. Her teeth are sticking straight out so far. And I'm like, well, we're in fucking Kentucky. That makes sense.
Well, I mean, yeah. In Kentucky, having teeth. I think we've offended blacks, Jews, Mexicans, who have, and people with fucked up teeth, the British. So, I mean, who haven't we offended now?
Nope, we're good.
So we've offended everybody, man.
We have.
That's good. That's good, because what I want to say...
We can't be accused of racism if we offend everyone, right?
I don't know. Can Jews be racist? We have Soros.
That's true.
Yeah, he pretty much takes up the whole race, but he's anti-racist.
Yeah.
But he's a racist anti-racist. I don't get, what the fuck is an anti-racist? You're either racist or you're not. Like, do you just not like, but not liking someone because they're racist, does that mean, isn't that racist?
No.
Because you're not liking someone based on their beliefs?
No, that's not a race.
But is it? How is Judaism a race?
Because it's a religion. I don't know if
it's not a fucking race.
I'm trying to remember.
Although my 23andMe has me at 46.8% Ashkenazi Jew. So if it can detect me in genetics, does that mean Judaism is a race or is it a region?
Do they base that off of heritage though? Like, do they base that off of like past?
Well, with you having two fucking circumcisions, man,
That's
you're
true.
a double Jew.
My 23andMe. Okay, hold on. We gotta carry the circumcision. But they're doing the math.
Carry the circumcision, add a 2. So my brother, this is how you know my brother is the most Jewish man ever. To get more gifts, he had a baby naming ceremony and a baptism because his wife is Lutheran.
Smart.
That's a Jewish thing. Because, I mean, he literally like sold out his Jewish kid to get more gifts. I'm not even mad at him.
I respect.
He got like $1,000 in gifts. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, even for a rich Jew like that bastard. So anyway, riots, they suck. They're pointless. They don't prove anything. It's emotion. And stealing something from Target is not going to make racism go away. Stop. It's stupid. It hurts your cause. And I'm not a fan of riots. I am a fan of peaceful gatherings as long as you don't obstruct traffic. And I'm a fan of, we have them all the time in Franklin, Tennessee. We had these Patriot rallies, right? Robbie Starbuck, a guy from Twitter, put one on that was awesome. I went to it. And it was great. They said a prayer. They said the national anthem, Pledge of Allegiance, and then had a bunch of talks about, what righties talk about, you know? Like conservative shit, like MAGA and cops and stuff, Trump. So they're cool. It was really fun, really a great group of people. And there was a gathering against, they wanted to, so there was a protest against protest laws. Because after they were having all the riots, our governor, Ted Lee, who's actually really a decent guy, Billy, I'm thinking Ted Cruz, if they had a baby.
You just...
Yeah, Bill Lee, he passed this thing that, look, man, if you start destroying shit, you're being charged with a lot of stuff. And they're like, that's not American. I'm like, they're not burning down your house, asshole. I'm like, I'm all for it. I'm like, thank you, Bill Lee, for having nuts to tell these people to stop this shit. We need to federally prosecute them. Burning down businesses, by the way, a majority of them were minority owned, doesn't, and by the way, you dumb fucks, insurance doesn't cover any of that shit. Oh, well, you have insurance. It's only property. So burning down property cures racism. No, it hurts the people who should be helped.
Also, if you're using that as your justification for rioting, oh, they have insurance, everything will be okay, then you're literally admitting you are going to accomplish nothing.
Oh my goodness.
So what you're saying is, hold on, our riots will help the people that we're destroying because they'll get brand new shit.
Oh my God, man. Sometimes I got to admit, my partner, Chad, he got rear-ended by a car, not personally. He got rear-ended, and he was in a Ford Fusion, and it was a new one. And so he got the payout. He bought 2 used Ford Fusions. Sometimes it can work in your favor.
Of course, it was a Fusion, right?
If Fusions are a company, so we measure things, and we got a $68,000 PO from Vitamin Shop or something, some number like that. And they're like, dude, that's a pretty big PO. I'm like, that's like 2 3/4 Fusions, like fully loaded hybrid, bro. And so we measure things in Ford Fusions in our company. It's just because Chad and I, my partner and I, Chad is my business partner in everything I do. Chad, if I had a bar mitzvah, Chad would be there. You know, Chad, we both drove Ford Fusions at the same time because he liked mine so much. He got one. It's not really a CEO car, but we don't care. So we really enjoyed those. But so the bottom line is, don't charge a cop with a knife. Don't charge a cop, period. Comply, and if the cop is being a dick and out of line, handle it later in court. It's not worth your life. It's not worth it. And if he is a bad cop, and I've been pulled over by bad cops. I had a cop give me a ticket, lie on the ticket, and guess what? I fought it in court. There's a reason we have the system, innocent till proven guilty, and you can fight that. You can, but I mean, if this guy who came at the cops with a knife felt that the cops were there unjustifiably, usually coming at a guy with a gun, with a knife, I don't care if it's a cop or not, isn't a good decision.
If I know for a fact someone has a gun on them, whether they're a cop or anyone else, I'm going to do my absolute best
not to get shot
to make sure they don't feel the need to draw that weapon.
Yeah, and I also want to state, again, we will call out cops. I went on about Floyd for a long time. And that hurt everybody. If you weren't at least a little bit hurt by watching that video,
that video sucked.
Then you're not human. You're not human. I don't care if he was on fentanyl. I don't care if he was on.
Don't give a shit.
I don't care. You don't do that. And I have people arguing with me every day about it. I'm like, you know what? I can't be friends with someone who didn't find that to be somewhat offensive. It's like, oh, that was fine. He was doing like, no, 9 minutes. Come on. But yeah. And you also got to realize, unless you're in a situation like these cops are put in, sometimes every day lately, you can't. Dude, I know cops. I talk to them locally. They're the nicest people you'll ever meet. They're just like you and I. They want to go home after work and they want to take care of their kids, play with their dogs. Like you haven't met her, but one of she's a female cop and she's the sweetest girl, but she has to be a badass on the streets, you know?
Yeah, they got to be tough.
And I mean, she's a cop. Is she a pig because she wears a uniform? She got into it for the right reasons. And like, if you follow, I'll show you her Instagram. Like, you got to realize these cops are just normal people and they get scared. And that's why when that guy pulled me over after the whole, the whole thing in Ferguson, he was scared because he's human. So you got to factor in the fact that they're humans. They get scared and they might make bad judgments. If I have a bad day at work, the company loses a few $100. If a cop has a bad day at work, someone dies. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility, and that part is unacceptable. It kind of leaves the margin of error at 0.
there's a zero margin of error as a cop. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, that's something that if they're not prepared for that.
We talked about the courts.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Amy Coney Barrett. Now, for the record, and I know she's dead. I'm not trying to drag anybody through the mud. And I said much meaner things I'm going to say here to Matt. I'm not going to say what I said, but I think Bader Ginsburg, I don't like legislating from the bench. I like interpreting the Constitution, how it was meant to be interpreted, and then ruling on that. Bader Ginsburg was a admitted legislator from the bench. She was an admitted partisan. I think she was a horrible, horrible justice. One of the worst in history.
Once you get to the Supreme Court, your days of fighting for change are done.
Yeah.
You have to interpret what's already written to your best abilities. That's your job at that point. And you've gotten there because you are the best at it.
Yes, and it's all about interpreting the law. The Supreme Court is our checks and balances. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was essentially a senator with more power. That's all she was. She was a Democrat senator with more power. She never, like, you look at Roberts, you look at Thomas, they have ruled where I've seen Republicans on Twitter lose their shit. Because what they did is they didn't fit the conservative narrative. Because they ruled based on the law, not based on their opinion. And that's where Bader Ginsburg was bad for the country. But liberals loved her because 100% of the time you knew where she was going to vote. Didn't matter what the topic, if it was on the Democrat agenda. And I will rake conservative justices' balls over the coal just the same.
Listen, I get it. You're going to have the liberal judges, you're going to have the conservative judges, and that's where their opinions are going to skew when it comes down to judgment and when it comes down to interpreting the Constitution. You can interpret it differently.
Well, Gorsuch, who a Trump nominee, I remember conservatives were fucking furious. How would Trump do this to us? Because he ruled different than what conservatives thought. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Now, what I see with Amy Coney Barrett, number one, she's not 97 years old. She's a mother of 7. 2 of them are adopted children, black children from Haiti. And she drives a Honda Odyssey. And as a former Honda Odyssey owner, I commend her. That was a beautiful automobile, and it's still on the road. My brother-in-law drives it now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great fucking car. So number one is Amy Coney Barrett should be respected for her choice in minivans. Number 2, here's a woman who is white, but who obviously sees race in a way that she's able to adopt 2 black children and raise her as her own. And I think I would be able to do the same with, I don't care about color. I don't give a crap about what color you are. I just don't care. But Amy Coney Barrett, in my opinion, from a personality standpoint, she's not one of the Harvard, Yale cultish people that are on the Supreme Court now. She's the only non-Harvard and Yale justice on the court.
It's probably a good thing.
It's a great thing. Notre Dame, we could talk. My dad went to the University of Miami, so he probably wouldn't like her. But remember Catholics versus convicts. What a great, you were too young for that. That was when you were born. But in the 90s, the University of Miami and Notre Dame were arch rivals. They had a big playoff game. It was Catholics versus convicts. Amazing. But anyway, that's besides the point. Amy Coney Barrett, in my opinion, from what I know about her, we'll call it down the middle. She'll interpret law as it should be interpreted. The only debate that you should be concerned with is whether you feel that it's a constitutional right for the baby or the mother. The only thing I see people having issues with is pro-choice versus pro-life, because gun control is pretty simple. Guns should be legal. Second Amendment covers that pretty clear.
That's the only thing I'm really seeing online.
So people are doing it right, because that's the only part.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in the Constitution other than Roe v. Wade, where Roe literally came out and said, "Whoops, shouldn't have done that." You know, so the person who they fought in the title is now pro-life. I'm weird with pro-life, pro-choice, because I was pro-choice for 39 years of my life. Obviously, my voting age wasn't 39, but up until this year, 2020, it's a crazy year, man. I became pro-life because my wife and I have had 2 miscarriages, and I see a baby as a baby. No one ever went up to my wife and said, "Wow, how was your fetus?" Or, "Wow, that's a beauty. You must have a fetus in your stomach." No, it's a baby. And the question isn't whether it's a baby or not. I'm sorry, I don't buy that whole jargon of it not being a baby, it being a fetus. The question is, can we kill it because it's inconvenient? That's the question. So the question is if we should legalize murder up to a certain point due to inconvenience. And the liberals even think you should be able to get it on the way out at 9 months. They believe in late-term abortion. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they believe in that. For me, that says a lot about where your mind goes to think. Now, I can almost ride with a first trimester abortion. I can. That's much easier for me to digest.
I'm in a really weird spot with this one because I've never had to come across it, and I can understand both sides of the argument.
Well, you should wear condoms.
Well, yeah, I do.
I don't. I got surgery to never have to wear condoms again. That's how serious I am about not wearing condoms. They literally cut my scrotum open in 2 locations and burned off my whatever tube that's called.
Vas
deferens. And so now I just shoot blanks. But I mean, I still get good distance. But nonetheless, yeah, I know you haven't had personal experience, but death penalty. I'm pretty consistent on pro-life because I'm anti-death penalty. I'm not a death penalty guy. And one reason is financially, it costs more to put someone to death than to just keep them imprisoned.
See, I'm pro-death penalty.
Yeah, that's good. That's
I'm never here.
You know what? Because if we can only save just one life, the liberals love saying that. And I side with the liberals on this one, or the libertarians as well. I have a very libertarian mind. Libertarians are anti-aggression. And we don't believe in, and also there's been so many convictions overturned due to DNA.
That's true too.
So it scares me, bro.
Yeah.
Again, I think, like I've changed this. I used to be pro-death penalty. I used to be pro-choice. I'm probably going to change again. And that's okay.
That's absolutely fine. You can change your opinions as many times as you need.
I guarantee you this. If I didn't have 2 miscarriages and then have 3 beautiful kids who I look at every day, and I still think, what if those 2 kids were born? What would they be like? What would they be like right now? You know, we had, I'm not going to mention names, but you know who we are, but they had a miscarriage just last year, you know, and the baby was a baby. It was a baby. It was like 4 months. It was a child. So she had to deliver that baby. Our neighbor just had to pass it. Like they allow abortion. They allow you to kill those. They allow you to kill. That's not cool. But this has gone so far off topic. But that's a huge issue for Amy Coney Barrett, is if you believe in abortion or not. So you need to have those conversations with yourself. But that's just one issue. You're looking at gun control. You're looking at voting. You're looking at a Supreme Court justice is a big deal. And I think RBG was by far, in my lifetime, she's the worst Supreme Court justice because she was predictable. That means that you knew she was going to side with partisan bullshit. And I don't ride with that on either side, and nobody should. But I do love the fact that she did so much for her people, meaning women, and being a strong woman and a convicted woman, and that's awesome. But part of being equal is the ability to call people out for sucking at their job. And I think RBG sucked at her job because she ruled based on politics, based on partisan BS. And I could be wrong. She could have had one ruling where it was, or 1 or 2 rulings, or many. They rule on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But for the big cases, she was always on that side. And that's a problem.
Got to be able to look at right down the middle when you're at that level.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things you need to rule on in life, right? Like a lot of huge issues, like lying bastards and peanut butter.
Segue.
That was awesome.
Applaud that one.
So I've gone over this a few times. I just want to call it out for more because I like this, because it's something that needs attention. There is a company called Professor Nuts that is literally still claiming, not on their label, but on their website, which, by the way, is still a clear violation. They will be sued. They will be sued, 100%. That their protein, because they add corn fiber. Now, they used to claim that it was due to cyclodextrin, which I have no clue. There was one obscure study that cyclodextrin might block certain enzymes or whatever to break down carbs and fats. So on this peanut butter, they claim This is absurd. They claim that putting corn fiber, I believe it's corn fiber. They took out the cyclodextrin, the whole point of the claim, and they put in corn fiber, which is basically what you find in protein bars. And now they claim that somehow this magic, let's take this Fit Butters. We sell these, by the way, this is our #1 nut butter next to the Outright Spreads at Tiger Fitness. Yeah. This one's Rory this is a cashew butter. Rory's Cookie Monster Madness. Say that 3 times fast.
Looks delicious.
It tastes delicious. I've already eaten some. And so the thing is, we're actually going to do a collaboration with them, with MTS. I'm just using this as an example of how not to be a douchebag.
Because this company is not the douchebag. No. Let's make that clear. They are great.
Ryan Buckeye is a great guy. I've slept him in 3 times. 190 calories per 2 tablespoons, 14 grams of fat, 10 grams of carbs, and 7 grams of protein. Okay. And you can see it's a long ass ingredient list.
You get the whole breakdown.
So Professor Nuts is basically claiming that only the protein counts. The other macros don't count. And their whole basis is they funded a study. They're like, you know what? Because I went hard on them. And they're like, oh, no, it's not that, because we have a study coming. I believe they had 3 or 6 subjects. 3, I think it was 3, done at Jacob Wilson's lab. Now, I'm not going to say anything about Jacob Wilson. I don't know the guy personally. Let's just say in the scientific community, he's not the most revered scientist. And so basically they're pointing this study with 3 subjects. 3 subjects. So here's my question for all you people who are about the peanut butter. You're like, oh no, I eat 12 jars a day. Number 1, if it truly does block fat and carbs, if it blocks fat, your ass is leaking. You're going to have anal leakage.
What's that fish that you were telling me about it one time?
Oh, dude.
Orange Ruffy. Orange Ruffy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be the same kind of situation?
Sort of. Orange Ruffy has an oil in it.
Okay.
Or whatever that passes through your system, and it causes you to have anal leakage. This would actually block all the other fats in your diet, including the peanut butter, and have your ass dripping.
Because it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's
still in your body.
You're not digesting it. So it's basically going to drip through your butthole. I'm not talking about when you poop. I'm talking about you'll be walking, because it's oil. It's not poop. So you'll literally have a leaky ass and stained underwear. There's number 1. Number 2 is, so number 1 is it comes out. Number 2 is that, how are you just keeping the protein? That's absurd.
It's absolutely bizarre. Absurd.
And so they're going on and they're still claiming this, and they're still being picked up by stores, and they're still, and their whole thing is they'll have like IFBB pros or some chicks like, I'm doing the challenge. I'm eating 10 jars a day and I'm losing weight still. First of all, anybody involved in that company. And the thing is, the owner owns a supplement brand that's supposedly a good brand, But we talked about this before with amino spiking. If you're willing to lie on one thing, what are you doing on the other? And also, I've known employees who've left the company because of my videos. They message me on Instagram. They're like, I looked into it, I asked questions, and you were right. These guys are straight liars. So the reason they don't go after people like me and Ryan Buckeye, who owns Fit Butters, by the way, these are delicious. They're at tigerfitness.com now. We ship. They're great. And again, I'm using this as an example, and I also own companies. So if I have a chance to support my buddy's brand, I'm going to do it.
He's a cool dude.
I'm not going to lie. But, the reason they haven't come at people for calling them out, because the FDA would shut them down. They'd literally when you go to court, everything becomes public record. Everything becomes public record.
In court, you cannot defend lies.
You can.
Right. But then you'll lose.
Not if you have documentation and expert witnesses. So and it's just, for me, it's hard to, it's just hard to even watch this. Here's my big thing. So let's say you canceled fat, you canceled carbohydrate. Motherfucker, you just cured diabetes and you just cured obesity. Why would you put it in a sport nutrition peanut butter? I would sell this thing to I'd sell this thing to Betty Crocker. I'd sell this thing to, give me a large company. I'd sell this thing to a bread manufacturer.
Anything.
I'd sell this thing to, what is a large, why am I blanking? I literally do this for a living. What the hell? I'd sell it to everybody.
Nabisco.
I'd have them put that shit in Red Baron pizza. I'd have them put it everywhere. Hey, if you eat this, your body only absorbs protein. But they don't. Instead, they put it in a niche supplement brand that might be doing $1 million a year in sales.
This
thing would be, if somehow corn fiber works, that means Quest bars have 0 calories, 0 fat, and 0 I'm sorry, not 0 calories, but 0 fat and 0 carbs.
And we know for a fact that's not true.
No, it's not. And also, I mean, this would bloat you up and it would make your butt leak. And the fact that people are like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's science, bro. I'm like, it's
kind of what you do.
It's kind of what I do for a living. Yes, I don't have a PhD. I don't have any of that shit. Like, I like when I talk about COVID, you're not an epidemiologist. I'm like, Bill Gates isn't either, and you're listening to his fucking ass. Shut up.
His computers can't even get rid of a virus.
No shit. Fuck Bill Gates. I already did a video on that. I'd be like, he's great. I'm like, Steve Jobs is better.
Yeah.
It is true, man. It is true. And I got the iPhone to prove it. So my thing is, what I want to get out of peanut butter, there are unscrupulous characters everywhere. And I really don't understand how people fall for it. I can't fathom it. And I don't understand how these guys can outright lie to people and live with themselves. And there's people who are eating this, thinking they're going to get said result and not getting it.
That's because they're unethical scumbags.
Yeah. So basically it's called Professor Nuts. And again, just look at the science. Look at their white paper. It's a joke. It's a joke. That said, man, we got so much to talk about, but we're gonna have to cut this one short. So, the bottom line is you can find us over at tigerfitness.com is where we sell our stuff. We got the Outright Bar, which is absolutely fantastic. You got Outright Bar. You got MTS Nutrition. You got Ambrosia Collective. Again, Planta, the #1 selling protein and vitamin shop. And you have a new brand coming, which we're going to see in December. It's going to be very exciting. Pervitum. We have Iron Addicts Gym in Long Beach, California. And if you ever see us at an event, feel free to go find us. You can find us on social media. I'm at Marc Lobliner on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. On YouTube, it's The Tiger Fitness. And Matt, you are at?
I'm at Matt A. Marano. My name was just taken.
That's his name.
So, yeah.
That's his name. So anyway, guys, this is episode 1 of the GainzCast. We'll try and get these out as often as we can. Thanks so much for watching, guys. GainzCast, that's not a game.